Good morning from beautiful Vancouver. And so well, not a whole bunch of you, but I've been getting several emails lately about the upcoming BaZi immersion class. And so I thought, well, okay, let me actually, I love doing PowerPoints, those of you who follow me. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do a PowerPoint here and I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is. And I'm also just going to teach some stuff for free because that's always fun to do too. And so, and I'm going to share a PowerPoint. Okay, so it's always easier for me to do it that way. And so I'm really glad to be here with you. And yeah. So share screen. Here we go. Yeah, and so I'm talking about BaZi, but the course that's coming up is called BaZi Mastery Certification Immersion Course Program, right? And so it's just, can you change your fate? Why this course? It's like, can you change your fate and create a better destiny? And the answer is yes, you can. Because fate is if you kind of just live your life without consciously working with energy. And I know we're all doing that to a degree, but just like the farmers with the Farmer's Almanac kind of use that with the cycles of the moon, when to plant and when to get a better crop and how to use time to their advantage, wouldn't it be an advantage to you to understand how time affects you? So that's one of the greatest things about how can you change your fate and create a better destiny is by learning how to work with time and space, learning how to work with energy. And so the goal of astrology is not to predict the future, but to create a better one, right? And so I've been doing that with my own life now for 30 years, and I work with others all the time. So by understanding yourself and the energies and lessons that you were born with, and yes, we were all born with lessons, you can consciously choose a path that supports your goals, okay? So, and I work with people in the different courses all the time on all these different things because I actually want you to have a better life. We're all worthy of abundance. We're all worthy of love. And our souls chose to incarnate in a certain blueprint that brings with it lessons. So let me talk about that a little bit, okay? And so I'm hoping this will take about half an hour, okay? And so we'll see how it goes, okay? And so my purpose in this course, as well, it's for two reasons. I mean, some of you will take this course. I have doctors taking this upcoming course who want to understand their clients and do diagnosis better. And so traditionally, Chinese astrology was a part of Chinese medicine, right? And it is still practiced in China to that date, but behind the scenes more because technically feng shui and astrology is still illegal there with communism. However, the really curious thing is the wealthiest people and the most powerful people all have their own feng shui consultants and astrologers, right? And so the date and time of your birth is represented with a chart. I'm going to show you that. And it just tells you a story of your life. Like I can see what your karma is. I can see what your lessons are. I can see what your potential health issues are. And then by that, we can kind of track how time will affect you. Like you are a vibrational blueprint of energy that is affected by everything. And so when we actually know how to work with energy, we are empowered. And for centuries and centuries, the truly wealthy have had access to this. And what the cool thing is now with the internet and all these different things is this information is available to all of us. So this particular course that's coming up is going to be for 12 weeks, twice a week live. It is recorded. And so I'm going to guide you for an hour and a half to 2 hours each time we have a class through the whole concepts of learning how to read a chart and then how to put that together into different aspects of your life. So whether you have a job and want to apply it to your job, or whether you just want to be better in your relationships or have better health or to be just fully empowered, this course will help you with that, okay? And so Lao Tzu even has a quote that I love. He who knows others is wise, and he who knows himself is enlightened. And so the whole thing with that too is like when you understand the way you think, because everybody thinks differently, and so like I'm someone who processes by talking. Other people process quietly and think before they speak. There is no right or wrong. But when I thought for the longest time we were all the same until I actually started studying astrology 40 years ago now, right? But we are all different. And by understanding who you are, It's so powerful as a tool to be able to just just have even just peace, because you'll start realizing really that most things are not personal. They're just something that happened in time. That's that person's way of doing things. And so, yeah, I am not someone, some of you are surprised when you meet me that I'm a Caucasian. And I certainly did not grow up thinking, oh, I'm going to become a feng shui master. I was actually given the title of master in 2006. And I have studied with the top English speaking, if you will, anyways, that I know of feng shui masters in the world, 8 of them. I've traveled to China several times. So I've studied in China and Malaysia and Hong Kong and India and Europe, right? And so for now, more than 20 years specifically, I've been studying feng shui, even more than that, since the early 90s. So I guess that's 30 years now. But prior to that, I studied Western astrology because I am someone who has always wanted to understand my life. I've always felt different. I'm not going to get into all the details here, but I have felt different. I have felt not included. One of the reasons is I'm 6 feet tall, and I was in a family that wasn't tall. So somehow I got that. And so, but that was actually, I see now, perfect because it made me question things. And so my expertise is not only in astrology, because that was interesting to me, but I've studied psychology, and I have studied religions, and I've studied spirituality. So those are my main passions and expertise that I bring to this teaching, okay? And so through the process, I got married and I had children, they're now grown, I have grandchildren. I have always been someone who is of service, who wants to help other people. That is true about my personality. But what I realized is I started studying astrology more and more through a hobby, as that my destiny, if you will, is to teach. And prior to that, I have also a great background in drug and alcohol issues. I worked with the homeless population and street people for about 15 years. Okay, and so with a lot of addiction issues. And so I am someone who has a lot of expertise in mental illness, behavior patterns. And through that too, that was always really curious to me as to why does that happen? Why do some people have such hard lives and why do others? And so that I have studied charts too to understand that. And so hopefully a little bit here, I can give you some information and insights. And please, if you have a question, do get back to me. You can contact me through my website there, marlynaconsulting.com, and the information of this course, the BaZi immersion course. And so it is a certification course, and it is, like I said, going to start on March 18th, and it is available to all. I have like 3 spots left. So the syllabus, just to go over it quickly with you, you're going to, of course, so to me, that first part of yin and yang and the 5 elements is actually the key part to understanding a chart. Most people do not, they look at the clashes or the interactions with the things, but if you do not understand how the 5 elements, which then become the 10 stems, interact with each other, you do not understand how time impacts it. And this is something that's on several layers, okay? It's not just as obvious to go, oh, it actually depends on what question you ask and what you're wanting to know. And is it the hidden stems or the branches, exactly what's interacting? And so hence, that's why we're doing it over 12 weeks. And so my goal is at the end of the 12 weeks that you are a proficient reader. So if you are committed to bringing in the time and energy to doing this, and yes, you could do this also recorded on your own later, you will learn to become a reader that can either charge money for doing astrology readings or add that to your life so that you're empowered and understand life, or add it to your medical practice, as several doctors who are going to be taking this class with me are going to be doing. So I'm going to teach you in depth how the 5 elements interact with time, because wood in spring is very different than wood in winter. Okay, and wood might be what we call your day master, and I'm going to show you that. But wood could be your wealth element. Wood could be what we call your influence element. So I've had teachers over the years say to me things like, oh, your parents were not helpful. Okay, so that as a karmic lesson was, and I said, well, they love me. She said, yes, all parents love their kids, but not all parents are good parents. So, and it's like my parents did their best for sure, but I'm not going to get into the story here, but it was like, oh, it's true. I was more the one that helped them overall, and I've been on my own since 17, than the other way around, right? And so, and this is neutral, the information, if you will. It is a karmic thing that what do you do with that? Because do I become a victim or do I become empowered by understanding I chose that? Okay, and this is a very important thing to understand with me as a teacher. We as souls choose our charts. And so we choose the moment we're born. And we choose them with other souls in our soul group for lessons. We're here in Earth School, and it's too much to get into all that now, but it's really exciting when you actually understand, oh, wow, there's a purpose behind all of that. And yes, we can take that deeper into other things. The 10 stems, they are yin and yang of the 5 elements. The 12 branches are the animals, right? The Chinese astrology, dragon and horse and dog. Advanced 5-element interaction. If you're born at night, what's the quality of fire in your chart? If you're born during the day, what's the quality? How do you read fire interacting with the other elements? Like those are really important things to understand in the advanced 5-element interactions. Essential relationships and combinations, and this is clashes and harms and destructions. Some of these words sound foreboding. It's not meant to be foreboding. It's just information, right? But as you know, everything changes. You can try all you want to keep your life the same. It's not going to happen, is it? Things change. All things change with time. We get older. I can't stop that. And so essential relationships, yes, 6 and 10 gods, that refers to the relationships with the elements to each other. You're going to get an in-depth look at that. And I have a slide coming up on that in a second. But new this year that I'm adding to all these, because some of this is just the basics of what you need to know, is how to really incorporate the 12 stages of growth into understanding the 10 gods in your luck cycle. So there's 12 months and there's 10 gods. We call the 10 gods the interaction of, it's not a god, it's just a name. It refers to a type of energy. So the 10 gods are the yin and yang of the 5 elements in relationship to the day master. Okay, or to each other. But say, for instance, we're talking about one of them is called direct resource. Well, direct resource born in February or March or April or May or June, each one of them is going to be slightly different. So we are going to look at that, okay? And then health analysis. I'm really excited to bring that into the chart and teachings and that too, because and I have a few TCM doctors and acupuncturists in the class. This is going to be really exciting. But the thing is, traditionally, it's like if, those of you that practice acupuncture and TCM, it's like, that metal is large intestine. Yeah. And then, but what is it then that makes, what is it the element? It's not always metal that needs then to be reduced to fix the chart, right? And so we're going to look at health analysis through the 5 elements, the 12 stages of growth, and time, right? How time changes everything. And so, and remedy, right? And remedy could be not just in the chart with time, but it might be feng shui, it might be different things, it might be food. And so we're going to incorporate looking, and here's the thing with health analysis that I think is really fascinating. Each of the elements in your chart represents a person. So it might be your mother, might be your father, might be your sister, might be your brother, might be a boss, might be different things, right? Grandfather, they represent people. Often what happens is in health analysis, the element that's being affected, like say it's metal and you have large intestine issues, that metal also represents in your chart a person that you might have unresolved karmic issues with. And so often with remedy, doing forgiveness work and meditation, or just counseling on that, it points you in the direction. So often I'm looking at people's charts, people come to me and they're having trouble getting pregnant. And it's like, I think you need to go talk to your mother and find out what happened with her. And sure enough, I'll get an email back and go, oh, she had a few miscarriages. She never talked about it. And it's like, it's buried. It's a buried secret, or she had a child out of wedlock. Those things need to be actually dealt with in the field, if you will, and healed sometimes before health heals inside us. And so there's a thing called useful gods. The useful god is the element that brings balance to your chart. So that's also kind of, I don't know if crucial is the right word, but it's something to think about with understanding when, like if you have a clash and the useful god gets removed, what can you do, right? So we're going to talk about useful gods, when balance comes in, when it doesn't, what can you do? Strength of the day master, types of structures, special stars and influences. Special stars and influences is the weakest way to read a chart. Okay, so it could be, oh, you have noblemen or you have money stars this year. Yeah, you could have money stars this year, right? And so the primary things that everybody comes to astrology with is they perceive that they want more money or control over their money, better relationships, or health. Right? Those are the three things. So of course, we're going to spend a lot of time on that. And I'm also, unless you know how to really read the 5 elements in relationship and the strength of the 5 elements. So say there's a star that comes up and it's your wealth element. And this year, for instance, the wood is really strong. It's water rabbit year and the wood is really strong. So if your wealth element happens to be wood, it's going to be stronger, okay? Because the element of the year supports it. However, if your wealth element is metal, even if you have a good star this year, there's no metal in this year's chart. So that's also important to take into account because it's not always for sure just because you have a star that it's good. And then there's another aspect that doesn't get talked about a lot, but we'll talk a little bit about the conception and life palace as well. So let me show, for those of you who don't know, this is what a chart looks like. Okay, so this is the chart you can get off my website. Okay. And so a basic chart with our first breath, we're imbued with the energy of the universe at that moment. And there's water rabbit is the year, this is today. Wood tiger is the month. Earth pig is the day, excuse me. And fire tiger was the hour that I chose, 4 o'clock this morning. The year cycle for this person, well, it says that we go through 10-year cycles and then there's 1-year cycles. So this is a map of a chart. These words here represent what's called the 10 gods. These images are the Chinese character for the word here where it says Jia, Yang wood. And these are the 12 animals. So there could be any random 12 animals there. It depends on time and the day. And then underneath here is a thing that's called the hidden stems. So each of the 12 animals actually represents a type of energy. And some of them have only 1 energy in it, and some of them have 3. There's no more than 3. So it's anywhere between 1 and 3. And so the rabbit here with just 1 in it is more pure in energy than the tiger, which has 3. Okay, so all of these elements, if you will, present a picture. And with this class, you will learn how to read the picture. So for instance, if this person was asking about husband or will I get married, we would actually, if this was a female, I would be looking at the yang wood. Now in this particular chart, just curiously, wood for this person, the day master, so is the husband element or the boyfriend element. Now we could count 1, 2, 3, 4 wood elements. So this chart for any girl born today indicates a couple things, but one of the possibilities, because there's so much of the husband element in the chart, that she might potentially marry more than once. That's one. But the other is the wood represents for this person as well a influence element, which represents status. So it could be that her husband has a high status because the wood is strong, or she herself becomes someone that's like a CEO or a C-suite executive. That also very much could be the case. The wood in this chart is very strong because of the month that she's born in the year. This person is kind. Anybody with strong wood in their chart is kind. And another way of looking at this chart is because the wood is so strong, and wood in health analysis represents the liver and the gallbladder. So anything that's really strong in a chart is potentially a problem, or anything that's really weak in a chart is potentially a problem. And so the wood is strong, so potentially gallbladder and liver issues or those types of things could show up in Chinese medicine, or because the metal is very weak, wood and metal, clash each other, there might be lung or sinus or large intestine issues. So this is just some of the ways that we initially start looking at the chart. You know, it's like, and then we can look at time as to when balance is coming. And this is just an example. Now, what is it that creates our destiny, right? Is it just astrology? No, it's not just astrology. And so everything is connected. All energy is connected. I think of energy kind of like air, if you will. It's just that permeable. It's everywhere. And you can't tell it to stop or not move. And inside the air, if you will, are these different influences. Wood grows up and fire expands and earth condenses and metal, you know, is a circular motion and water descends, like very brief, right? They say that our destiny is a factor of three things: heaven, human, and earth, okay? So heaven is the moment that you were born. It's that blueprint of your chart. So 33% of your destiny is fixed at birth, and it represents the parents you were born to. It represents your innate strengths and weaknesses. That 33%, because it's represented by the 5 elements, is influenced by Earth, which also has 5 element influences. And so your environment in different ways, and your parents who also have blueprints, like, so one person with a chart that's identical to somebody else born on that same day, the parents might have the energy that that person needs for balance. So for instance, if you need fire and your parents' chart has a lot of fire, that really affects your life. Or if you need fire and nobody around you has fire, that also is going to affect your life. So that's very curious, right? To look at that and understand that. And then here's the part that we have 100% control of, even though it's only 33% of our destiny, is our actions. So our actions might be what behaviors we do, what foods we eat, how much exercise we get, how much education we get, who we hang out with. And so when you understand all three, this is how we start changing fate, what you were born with, into destiny, which is a goal that you can achieve to have the best possible life. Who doesn't want that, right? And so, yeah, a chart paints a picture. Okay, and I'm just going to show you another example of a chart here. This is a different way of looking at the chart, but one of the things that I want to say too, for those of you that already have studied some astrology, and some of the things that I've learned more in the last, say, 3-4 years, is what we call the hidden stems represent really kind of, so what's visible up top in this, you know, in this, what we call the stems and the branches, represents what's obvious in our lives. What's hidden in the branches is not obvious. Okay, so we call that not obvious. And so that's the part really to understand that can represent karmic influences, subconscious influences, and they pop up in the years, they get triggered by, you know, like when we go through what we call cycles of time, right? And so just like now in Western astrology, Saturn has changed signs. Wherever that is in your chart is making a huge influence for everybody. It's a very karmic influence. So I'm also trained for 10 years in Western astrology. The reason I did not continue with Western astrology, I love Western astrology, to love all astrologies, but is because when I learned about Chinese astrology, there's so much remedy available to work with it. Whereas with Western astrology, information was great. It would tell me when was a good cycle or when not, but it wasn't so much. And even with Vedic astrology, yes, we can do gemstone therapy and do different things. But I love with metaphysics, Chinese metaphysics, that there's directions you can face, there's actions you can do. You can look at the calendar every day with the days, like what day is it, you know, and activate certain things. So here, these hidden influences tell a story. And so to me, to understand, so many people are suffering emotionally. I see that as one of the biggest things that's happening, and in COVID particularly that's happening. Wouldn't it be helpful to understand some of the things in your chart that might be affecting how you think, which might be affecting how you feel, which affects what you do? And sort of by making it neutral and kind of going, oh, the fire is coming here, or the earth is coming then in time. Like, when can I find that and work with that? That's so helpful. It's just changed my life. So this is the stars. The software that you will be working with is the stars here. They tell us a story as well. And this is the relationships. And there's words here like punishment. And so this chart here of this day, which was yesterday, has 4 punishments within the chart. So that kind of indicates a little bit, because there's what's called a punishment there, is that that'll represent at certain times in life interpersonal problems. Now, wouldn't it be helpful to know if an interpersonal problem is coming before it happens? And that you could actually then maybe monitor, because this is in your chart or in the chart of a person. So when I see that I have, say, a destruction coming or a harm or a punishment, these are some of the terms we use, the only person I can change is me. I cannot change anybody else. But I can then notice on those days, you know what, might be better today to wait before I respond to this issue, or to take time to look at this differently. It has just helped me to learn. And also part of that is just all the goal. It gives me strategy, because if my goal is to, to build relationships, and I can see by times where I'm more grumpy or more this or that, it's like, oh, okay, I could work with this and understand today. I just have to be a little bit more diplomatic. It might not come as naturally. So I'm going to introduce a really simple concept of the chart right here called the Day Master. So lots of you know about this, but if you've never been introduced to Chinese astrology, the Day Master is the part of the chart that represents you most personally, okay? And it is the top part of the day. And in this chart here, it's Yang Wood. Okay, so Yang Wood is the Day Master. There's 10 different possibilities. So to this Yang Wood, all these different elements of Yang Fire and Yin Metal and Yin interact in relationship to this Day Master and tell a story. But the very first part of every chart is we look at is, are you actually embodying what you call your Day Master? Each of us is a Day Master. So let's just look at these, all right? The Day Master is you. It is your personality, the essence of your inherent nature. Stepping into your destiny always begins with the Day Master, because it's like, well, if you were born a banana, you got to be a banana. If you were born a tree, you got to be a tree. What is a good tree? Do you have the essentials in your chart, right? And so the Day Master defines the entire chart, because it decides what elements manifest as the 10 gods. All right, so this one here is Yin Water. Okay, so you just defined what is your Day Master. So I'm going to go through these next slides quickly, okay, because this is not to teach you all that, but to introduce you to that. If you are born a tree, in order to have a good life, hopefully we see in your chart earth, right? Because you need foundations, some water, and some fire. But also, and even they say yang metal, there needs to be an axe nearby to prune the tree, because a beautiful tree is actually pruned. It doesn't just grow wild. And so by understanding in the different aspects of your chart what elements are what and where, it tells you what your relationships are with what those palaces represent, because each box in your chart represents a different area of your life. Okay, so that's Yang Wood. Now, Yang Wood traditionally should stand straight, and they have principles and they have ideas. And so these are things we're going to go through in depth, because the first part, and even if this isn't your Day Master, so for those of you that, study, for me, wood is my wealth element. So I actually also need to understand the quality of the wood in order to be able to answer what's the quality of my wealth. And then I need to strategically, if I'm looking at making money, what do I need to do to grow the wood? And is that present in my chart? Because it might be there's too much water in my chart, then I don't need more water or wood. I actually need earth to dry up the water. And then I can look into the future, if you will, whether the question is health or wealth or whatever. If we're looking at the wood element, what time of year, what time of day are they better? Okay, so we look at in depth at the 10 stems, okay? Yin wood is different from Yang wood. It's still wood, still has a lot of the same qualities. It needs earth, it needs fire, but it's much more flexible. It does not need metal, right? And it has different requirements. So just by seeing the pictures, you start going, oh, I can see that that's different. They're not equal. No. Yang fire is the sun. So there's very different requirements. Does the sun need anything? Does the sun need fuel to grow? Does it need anything? No, it doesn't. The only two things maybe that the sun doesn't like is, first of all, yin water, because it's cloud, It could cover it up, but it doesn't hurt it physically, but it does hurt it emotionally. So yang fire day masters are a little less happy when there's a cloud around. Okay, so we could look at that, and it might explain why you like some people and don't like some people, right? And I'm just giving you a very brief overview here, right? Yin fire is a candle or a man-made flame, or the flame that burns in the kitchen cooking the food. It needs fuel. It's very different from yang fire. One of the big things too in understanding fire in a chart, specifically for health issues, one of the biggest aspects in diagnosing health is the chart too cold or too wet. Is yin fire a candle? Is it useful during the day? Do we need light from a candle during the day? No. Does the sun shine at night? No. So that impacts everything in the chart, right? Just that understanding. So these are really cool concepts, right? To be able to understand about life. And what I love about Chinese astrology is it paints a picture. I love Virgo and Saturn and all that other stuff, but I don't quite get a picture of what it looks like in real life. Whereas I paint for you pictures so that you can actually start understanding the concepts. Because yes, astrology is abstract. But when you understand the language it speaks in, it's, to me, like what literally happened. It was like, well, my book that I wrote years ago is called Do You See What I See? And my daughter had been she's an engineer, and she'd been taking quantum physics. And she said, Mom, I look at everything now. If a kid's kicking a soccer ball as to an equation. And I thought, oh, wow, I look at everything now in the terms of 5 elements in yin and yang. That's my quantum physics, right? So yang earth is a mountain, right? And so mountains have requirements. They're, are they an earthquake? Is there fire? Like, we don't like them to be too hot. Are they lush? Are they dry? Like, that tells a story. And whether this is actually your day master or the element in the chart, again, these tell you information. Yin earth is soft soil. All right, so very different personality. Yin earth is the most tolerant of all the signs, right? And so yang metal, like I'm just going to go through these. Yang metal is more of a sword or a big knife. And so fairness and justice and action are very much associated with yang metal. And so we like to see actually some of this in everybody's chart, because it also tells the story if it's missing from your chart as to your personality. And so yang metal, if you have a lot of metal in your chart, or this is your day master, you're someone who believes in fairness and justice and has a logical mind. So very different from the sun, which inspires in a different way, right? Yin metal, on the other hand, is more refined. It's already made. It's already a diamond. So it's very much associated with a brilliant mind and a brilliant, a brilliance, if you will, that shows up in either beauty or in intellectual thinking. And yin metal, but yin metal can also be a knife that cuts, just like the sword can cut. And so it has a function. Like each one of these has a function. And so by understanding yin metal, one of the things it's associated with is the breasts, of all things too, in health. So the quality of yin metal will tell you, or a clash to yin metal, potentially of health issues, and there's so much cancer in the world and things these days. Cancer, by the way, is associated in astrology here with the earth element. Right? And so it's like, oh, okay, how does that show up in different ways? And then there's 2 left here. Yang water is the ocean. Calm, mostly calm on the surface, a lot going on underneath. Very intuitive. Water absorbs everything it's with, but also there's a busyness with water. Can you tell water to stop moving? No. Right? It's going to evaporate. You can't tell it not to evaporate. You can't tell it. And there's water. How much of our body is made out of water? We're so influenced by gravity and the planets and all that. And so water is also a huge story and personality. And when water is in really good quality, it's a beautiful thing to be around. When the water is too strong, you kind of feel like you're living with a tsunami. And intensity. Now, if you knew that that was your personality, couldn't you use that to your advantage, right? Or understand your client? And then yin water is the last one here, a cloud, right? And so the cloud is actually for water, two of the keywords is freedom. Don't tell me what to do. They're very loving and kind people, but need to have some autonomy within that for freedom. And the cloud can be either too aloof, or can water plants, or have different, be a fog, and different things. And so all these elements, I've just introduced you very briefly to what we call the 10 stems, the 5 elements. They all represent in our chart in different ways or through time and in our personalities. And so when I understood who I was and how time was, I stopped taking things personally, and I started treating the problems in my life as neutral and ways to solve rather than as a victim with no power. It changed my life. Some other things that we'll be covering. So day masters the yin and the yang of it. So if you are born a yang day master, that has a completely different energy than a yin day master. Okay, and so those are aspects that's important, especially a lot of women that come to me as clients are yang day masters, which typically is associated with the male, which is fine. But if you're wanting a relationship and you're always behaving in a yang way, you might actually be pushing away yin, because in order for relationships to happen, you need to have yang and yin. So sometimes just by understanding, am I too yang or am I too yin, helps you work through issues, right? And so, yeah, the day masters, the yin and the yang of it. And so, yeah, so your day master could be yang wood, it could be yin wood, it could be many different things. So these, again, are also things we're going to cover in the class in depth. The 12 branches, so they call the animals the 12 branches. There's the tiger, the rabbit, the dragon, the snake, the horse, the goat, the monkey, the rooster, the dog, the pig, the rat, the ox. Now they're color coded on this slide just to show you that they all are associated with different elements. And you might notice that even though it says here that the dragon is earth, it is part of the wood season. The goat is earth, but it's part of the fire season. The dog is earth, but it's part of the metal season, and the ox is earth. It's a very important distinction in understanding what we call the 4 earth animals, because technically they are not a season. So we need to look at them differently in how we read a chart than we do, say, the other elements. Each of the animals has chi in them, they interact, it tells us a story, they have an hour of the day, they have a place in our house, many, many different things. And so, yes, we will be going through that in depth. If you've never seen what the 10 gods look like, there's 10 gods, and they're called the friend and rob wealth, the eating god and hurting officer, indirect wealth and wealth, 7 killings and direct officer, indirect resource and direct resource. And so don't worry about the negative words like 7 killings and hurting officer and rob wealth. They're, as you can imagine, very dynamic, and they're all good, right? Some, though, are more easy in a personality, if you will, right? Now, some of this then gets into understanding your destiny. Maybe you were born to be a lion kind of thing. And what's a good lion do? They know how to roar, and so maybe that's part of your destiny, to be a leader. That now and then leaders, sometimes you have to take charge. I don't know. And then there's other people who are born supporters, or you might be in a cycle now that's a supporter cycle. And yes, they do have an element here, but the truth is that these 10 gods can literally be in any element. So they actually say the 10 gods are the 100 formations, 10 times 10. You take the 10 gods and you put them in, there's 10 options of these. So yes, we will be covering to a degree some of that in this class as well. Because, for instance, the friend element in metal is different than the friend element in fire or water or wood. And this is true for each of them. So this is a huge part of the class, is really understanding the 10 gods. Because if you really want to do, we could say, oh, there's a clash happening. So anybody who has rooster in their chart this year is having a clash with the rabbit. What does that mean, right? Well, literally what it means is whatever god that is to you, it is affecting that aspect of your life. Okay, so if it's your wealth element, it's going to affect your wealth. If it's your resource element, it's going to affect your health or your mother. If it's your influence element, it's going to affect your marriage or potentially your job. Change is coming. By understanding what change is coming doesn't mean that it's for sure happening, but it means now that you are empowered by understanding what's coming to do actions that can mitigate that to a degree. I will teach you a lot about that. So just a couple more slides here, the meaning of each palace. So just to give you, yes, I know it's a lot, but we're going to be spending a lot of time together in this class. All right. And I only offer this class once a year, and I probably am only going to offer this whole course for a couple more years, right? I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be working. We shall see. The year pillar, the month pillar, the day pillar, and the hour pillar each represents different areas of our life. So this is also where we get truly empowered by understanding what's coming. Because for instance, in the day month pillar, it says father and mother. But if we actually look at that more, the father and mother represent our field of influence to a degree, our reputation. So they say it represents our career, because in the old days, your reputation that came from your ancestry influenced the job you had. So it is true, the month pillar represents different parts of our lives, even today. The month pillar is the month as well that represents the strongest chi in your chart, because if you're born in autumn, the metal is strong, for instance. So they call it the life fence, health. So it's like, okay, if you can understand the interactions that happen to that pillar, you understand, depending on the question, right? That area of your life. You can see that each pillar represents as well a time cycle, 0 to 17, 17 to 34, you know, that. The left side of your body is by the month and year. The right side of your body is by the hour and day. And so we're going to go into this in depth, because when you have memorized and understand what the 4 pillars represent and their relationships, and then you understand what elements are inside of them, all of a sudden you just know what's going on, right? And so, yeah, I hope that this has been informative for you. You can see I get passionate talking about Chinese astrology. I hope that this is something that you will consider studying. And so, yeah, the question too is like, well, what do you want? What are your goals, you know, in life? I'm always asking people this, because the use of understanding astrology just for voyeurism, why, right? The real magic with this, if you will, is what do you want and how can you use time to your advantage? And when you understand that, it's like you start planning ahead. Oh, the metal is coming then. Oh, the water is coming then. This will support. Now, can you still do stuff now? Absolutely. There's a saying, if you don't have luck now, luck just meaning the energy to support your goal, right? You can make your luck. Now, is it harder? Yes. Will it take more effort? Yes. Will it potentially be successful? Not sure. If we use a garden, for example, do plants grow in winter? No. You know, unless you're in a greenhouse, it's not the right action for that time. So peace and fulfillment is my goal for you. Yes, part of it is to actually take your life and have a better life. But when you are in harmony with the elements and time, you're in flow. You're in the right place at the right time. All right. And so this is my wish for you, right? What do you want? Yeah, we can look at the chart and go, yes. Now, can we do activations and other things to make things happen? Yes, we can. Yes, we can activate romance. Yes, we can do different things. And I will talk to you to a degree about that. But really, the first step is, what do you have? Does that align with what do you want? And how can this knowledge, you know, support you to know better? To me, it's like, do you need an umbrella? Is it going to rain today? Right? So yeah, can you change your fate and create a better destiny? Yes, you can, right? And so does, you know, if you are someone who wants to understand yourself better and make informed decisions about life, or you want to identify the best career path for you or others, right, that align with your strength and potential, like I can look at a chart, like I actually have businessmen and who hire me all the time before they hire someone. They get the birthday. Because wouldn't it be good to know if this person is good at research by the chart, or is this person good on the front desk, or is this person good at conflict resolution? Those are things that you can see clearly in a chart. So people like myself have been hired as human resources, if you will, for centuries in China, right? To manage human resources. It's fun. And so when people, the retention of your staff is longer, right? Your success in the things that, training somebody takes a lot of time. Don't you want to make sure you train the right person? So you can either identify your best career path or look at others and have that as part of your job, that you help them hire good people. Do you want better control over your wealth? Do you want to make better strategic monthly decisions regarding career and money? Do you want insight to your compatibility and best actions to improve your relationships with others? Or you want guidance and insight to diagnosis and remedy on health issues? Or do you want to take your career as a health practitioner to a deeper level by being able to interpret the charts of clients and understand how to use time as diagnose and remedy? I am so excited to be working with more and more TCM practitioners and acupuncturists, but in truth, this class is for anyone. We all have health issues, and you will be learning how to read about love and learning how to read about money and all that stuff throughout this class. So that takes me to the end of my presentation. What I understand about energy is if I help, we are all connected. We are all connected. And so by me helping other people and consciously walking my walk and helping you raise your vibration, whether you're at my moon talks or the different things that we do, the moon circle and the meditations and whatnot, all my work these days is not just based on just astrology, but also on the spiritual aspect, which is the yin and the yang. And the spiritual aspect is not religion. It is about the inner work of aligning to the karma and destiny that you've decided to work through in this lifetime, and then working with it and making you don't have to suffer. Suffering is a choice. And so if you understand what's coming, you can align your reactions, which is huge. Anyways, like I said, there's a few spots left in this class. I just wanted to introduce some of this to you to let you know a bit about what's going on. Namaste. Have a lovely day.